Everybody, hold on 1 second. Let's get this camera flipped. Let's get it working and showing the right way. I tell you, YouTube is getting weird lately. It's actually not lately, but for a while it's been. And I can't schedule because it changes my settings. And even when I go live, even it's still changing things. So bear with me, everybody. I got my laptop right over here so I can make sure that everything is even and straight and all that wonderful stuff. So the video viewing looks good. So let me just make sure that we are, have to bring this down just a little bit. And I think we're good. And we'll bring our lights down just a little bit so we got some nice bright light and you can see everything really well. So welcome everybody. This is Carla. Welcome back to the studio. And thank you for joining me for another episode of my monthly Christmas card inspiration. So what I do on the first of every month, I put together a pre-recorded video. I posted here on my YouTube channel. And the whole idea behind this is to give you a little bit of some Christmas card making inspiration. Cards that are pretty simple, um, pretty quick to put together if you're mass producing your cards. And it just gives you some inspiration throughout the year if you're the type that likes to make your cards throughout the year rather than waiting closer to December. So I hope that you find some good value in these videos that I put out. So for this particular episode, I am using the Merriest Moments bundle. So you have the photopolymer stamp set, and with this bundle, you have the Merriest frames. When you got this bundle, um, well, let's take the stamp set out of the way for a moment. When you got this technically is one unit. The set of dies come with the hybrid embossing folder. So if you ever look in our catalogs and it says that there's a hybrid embossing folder, know that there are a set of dies that come with it as well. So the price point on these are just a little bit more, again, because you're getting the two together. You cannot purchase these separately. They're all together as one. So we're going to be making two cards. One of them, we're going to kind of use the embossing folder in two different ways along with the dies. Now there are some things that, to save some time, I did do ahead of time. So let me pull out all the little pieces and everything for our first card. So that's that. So for this first card here, I have a piece of cherry cobbler. This color to me is like the perfect Christmas color. This is one of my favorite reds. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4.25. I have a piece of basic white. This measures 5.25 by 4, and ahead of time I had embossed it using the Merriest Frames Hybrid embossing folder. So you can use that embossing folder just to emboss your piece and use it as is. You can also, there's a die where you can actually die cut that frame as well. So there's a couple of different ways that you can use it. So we have that piece. And then out of a scrap piece of basic white, there is a die in there that does this stitched rectangle that fits perfectly within that rectangle right there and on the embossed piece. And then ahead of time, I did stamp some elements for this card. So we have these little evergreen sprigs, we got some holly leaves, we have some other leaves here, and then we have uh, the poinsettia. So they've got a larger one and a smaller one, and then there's some berries. So let me show you the stamp set. So you have all of these pieces here. You can stamp and die cut these flowers individually, or you can pair them together to create one flower, which is what I'm doing on this card. Then you have some really nice greetings in here. For this one, I'm going to use this one here, A Joyful Christmas to You and Yours. Now for this part, because it is a photopolymer stamp set, I can easily see where I'm stamping, so I don't have to stamp first and then die cut. So that's what I like about photopolymers, that you can see exactly where you're stamping. So again, like I mentioned, I had done some stamping ahead of time. So just to show you, to let you know what I used on these. So for my berries and my flowers, I used the cherry cobbler ink. For my greenery pieces, I used the evening evergreen. And then for the center, now this little poinsettia flower, this one is going to lay on top of the larger one. So I stamped that center piece on this one, and I did that in crushed curry. So we got that. And then I'm going to take this piece here. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat, this being a photopolymer set. It's not like our red rubber stamps where you have the red rubber and then you have like that foam cushion on it. So I'm going to bring in my Pierce mat so I can get a good stamped image. And what I'm going to do is, since my card base is in the cherry cobbler, I'm going to stamp my greeting in evening evergreen. And let's get this open. And we'll ink this up. Make sure that it's good and inked. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp this right in the middle. And again, because it's photopolymer, it's very easy to see where you're placing it. Okay, so we got that. We'll set that aside. And we'll put our block over there. Close that up. Okay, we'll move this out of the way. So now we're going to assemble our card. So I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my liquid glue, and I'm going to glue down this embossed piece here. Yeah, let's see, which way am I putting this? I'll put this way. Oops. Okay, and then we're going to center this right onto our card base. Like so. Now, if you were to mass produce this, the best tip that I can give you is kind of do it kind of like an assembly line type style. So fold, so score your card base. So take your one piece, your 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, that'll be your card base. And on the 8.5-inch side, score that at 4.25, and then cut it at 5.5, and then that way you have two card bases. Your white cardstock for your embossed piece, die cut, not die cut, but cut all of those, to size, and then do all your embossing at the same time. And then like all your stamped elements and the between the stamping and the die cutting, do all of that at one time. And then you have everything that all you have to do is just put your cards together. So I find that's the easiest and fastest way for me to do that. All right, so on the greeting piece, I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back of this. And I'm going to center this right here in the middle of that rectangle. So it makes it pretty easy to do that. And of course, before you go and do that, make sure that your ink has dried. There are some colors like your reds that take a little bit longer to dry. So that way when you go to rub it down, you don't smear that. Okay, so now I'm going to place down my pieces here. So I'm going to take one of these longer evergreen pieces. I'm going to add some glue to the back of this. And I'm going to place this right up in this corner like so. And I want to press that down, make sure that that stays. And then I'm going to get the other one, add some glue to the back of this one. Whoops. And then we're going to take this one and we're going to bring this one down like so. A piece of like a little piece of glitter in there. Okay, and then these two greenery pieces. Add some glue to the back of that. This one's going to go right over here. And then the other one. This one's going to go right here. All right, and then I'm going to take this larger holly leaf, add some glue to the back of that, and then I'm going to place this right over in this corner here. And then there's a medium size. So on this, for the holly leaves, you have a larger one, a medium, and a smaller one. So I did the large and the medium. So I'm going to add some glue to the back of this. And then this one will go right here. So I'm placing these down first, and then I will add that flower and my berries next. All right, so then on the flower, first I want to see how I want to arrange this, how I want to have these overlap. Kind of like that way. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit of liquid glue. I'm going to put that in the middle of that flower. And then I'm going to place this right over the top. Kind of hold that for a moment so that way it holds. The glue that I have in this fine tip glue bottle is the Tombow Mono Multi-Purpose Glue that we sell in our annual catalog. I like to put it in one of these fine tip glue bottles that I got off of Amazon. I do have a link below in the non-Stampin' Up supplies. You can get a package of 10 of these, fairly inexpensive. Now, the reason why I like to put that glue in there is because that glue has a latex in it. So a little, you only need a little bit, and it holds really, really well. So I find that if I put it in that fine tip glue bottle, then I won't accidentally overdo it with the glue. All right, so then on the back of the flower, I'm going to add, let's see, I'm going to add 3 dimensionals on the back of this. And then on my berries, I'm going to add 1. Now, the, the regular size dimensionals, this just fits on the back of this. Okay, so let me close up my glue because we're done gluing at the moment. Let me bring this down. Okay, so then I'm going to take my poinsettia here, remove these backings, and then I'm going to add this right here over the top of where I grouped all of that greenery together. And then got my berries, and that is going to go right here over the top of where those 2 holly leaves join. And so there's the first card. Now you can add some rhinestones to this, or pearls if you would like, but this is just a very simple card that once you stamp and you die cut all those pieces, it goes together very, very quickly. So here's our card that has our traditional red and green colors. And so for our next card, we're going to change it up a little bit on the colors that we're going to use. So Christmas doesn't necessarily mean you have to use red and green. All right, so for this one, I'm going to explain a little bit more about another way you can use that embossing folder and the set of dies. So first, I'll let you know what I have here. So for my card base, this is Bubble Bath that measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. Now, Bubble Bath is one of those colors that if you look at it by itself, it looks pink. You put purple with it, and then it's got that little bit, it looks almost like a purplishly, is that a word? Like a purpley type pink color. Then I have a piece of, this is fresh freesia. This measures 5.25 by 4. Then out of a scrap of basic white, again, I die cut another one of these stitched rectangles. I had stamped both the large and the small bloom, and I did that in Highland Heather ink. And so we got that. And then out of the other piece of basic white, now for this piece, what I did with this one, let me show you what I used. In the die, in the set of dies, you have this frame piece that will just die cut these pieces out. So there's no dimension, there's no scoring or any type of thing like that that you see on this piece. Now, after I die cut it, okay, I took the embossing folder and I simply took my die cut piece and I lined it up in here, placing it within, if you can see that line that's around where the embossing is. So I placed it in there, I closed it up, and then I ran it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And the sandwich that you would use for this is your base plate, and then plate number 4, which is the gray plate. You use that for when you're using the 3D embossing folders, and then you just run this through, and this is the end result after you do it, you'll see that it's got some of the score lines in there, and there's a little bit more detail in the greenery pieces around this frame. And again, it doesn't cut out that middle section. Now, if I wanted it cut out, the die that I used to cut that stitched rectangle, when I would go to die cut, I can take this and just place this right in the center like so, and then run it through all in one shot, and then it'll actually cut out this centerpiece. But we wanted to keep it solid. So a lot of different things you can do with the embossing folder. You can even add ink onto like the raised portion here, and then you can run it through your machine, and then you would have the color on your pieces there. So there's even the other thing you can do too is there is another die in here. So it's a more open one. So what you can do with this, let's see, is it on? I figure out which way it goes. Which way does it go? Okay, I think it goes this way. Trying to see where this all. Okay, it's supposed to lock. It's supposed to lock in, and for some reason, it's not doing that. Yeah, these hybrid embossing folders. Okay, so on the side that has the Stampin' Up! Logo on it, if you put the die in there, you can see it kind of locks into place. You can take your cardstock and you can place it on top of this, close it up, and then you can run it through, and what it'll do is it'll cut that greenery, like basically it'll cut this whole piece right here, and it'll do the embossing in it. The only difference is with the other die is you can see that some of these areas it actually cuts out in between these greenery pieces. So that's the difference between doing it the way I did it with the detailed die and then putting it in the embossing folder by itself. Or if you want to you have it, take your paper, put it on, well, first put your outline die down into your embossing folder and make sure it kind of like locks into place. Put your paper over the top of it and then run it through your machine again using that number 4 gray plate, and you'll have this whole piece not only die cut but also embossed. Now, the one thing I will mention, this only works with the hybrid embossing folders. Just keep that in mind. You can't do that with the regular 3D and the regular embossing folders. Only the hybrid ones are you able to actually do the embossing and the die cutting at the same time. So I just wanted to make mention of that. So there's a couple of different techniques on what you can do with that whole set. All right, so for all of this, let's go and take our card base. Let's fold and burnish that. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my piercing mat again and bring in my piece. Now this card is not going to be a landscape card. This one's going to be vertical. So I'm going to stamp my greeting in this direction. So for this one, I'm going to do Thinking of You This Festive Season. And that is this one right here. Okay, let me get a block for this. Okay, and then the ink that I'm going to use is Highland Heather. It's the same color I used to stamp the flowers. Okay, let's ink this up. This is the one I used. Nope. No, actually, this is the wrong one. Hold, please. I ended up grabbing the wrong one. I grabbed the one that says together is the merriest place to be. That's not the one I wanted. So let me clean this really quick. And while I'm at it, I'll clean this one up too. And I apologize for the camera shaking. Oops, I got some ink on the corner of that block. I don't want to end up with that on my hands. All right, so let's try this again. Let's grab the right stamp this time. This one back. That's the wrong one. We want this one. All right, let's ink this one up. And then we're going to center this. Right. Kind of move this so it's straight. Let's stamp that down. Okay. Then we'll close this up. Move that out of the way. And we move that. All right, so I'm going to take my fresh Freesia piece here. I'm going to get my glue. Now you can also use like a subtle type of embossing folder to emboss this piece first before layering the other pieces too, if you want to add a little bit more interest to the card, if you like. But these are all about making it easier to mass produce your Christmas cards and do it fairly quickly. Got to add more glue into that bottle. Okay, and then I'm going to center that on my card base. Okay, and then for this embossed frame piece, I'm going to add some glue just in this this center portion here. I'm not worrying about adding any to the greenery pieces around the edge. So those pieces, being that they're not going to be stuck down, it's going to add a little bit more dimension to the card. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to center this on here. So it's going to overlap just a little bit on the top and bottom. Make sure that's straight. Okay, and I'm going to press that down. And then just like I did on the other one, I'm going to add some glue to the back of this greeting piece. And I'm not popping this up only because the two flowers, I'm going to pop them up. And so if I pop this up too, then there'll be a little too much dimension on this card. The other thing too is when you're doing these cards, you want to try and do it where you're not going to have like all this extra bulk and weight on it, because then it's going to cost you more in postage. All right, so we have those pieces down. I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. And let's see. So on my large one, I'm going to add 2 to the back of this. And then I'm going to add 1 on the smaller one. Okay, and my smaller one, add that one right down here in this corner. And then my larger one, this one, let's see. This one I'm going to place right over here in this corner. Now, because I don't have the center stamped on those blooms, I'm actually going to use an embellishment on that. So these are the pastel pearls, and I should have looked up what exact colors are in here. It looks like we have, this could be fresh freesia here, and that could be either Highland Heather or that could be Gorgeous Grape. And then this, I think, it was like a light, I think it was like a light blue or something. And then the pink, was it Blushing Bride or something? These have been retired for a while, so I can't remember offhand. And I really should have looked online, before I did this to know what color, exactly what colors they are. But for this card, because you kind of got like the soft pastelly type colors, I'm going to use these pearls here. Now there's only one size, and they're the larger pearls, and so I'm just going to add one of those to the center of each of these flowers, like so. And there we go. There is that card. Went together really, really quick. Again, if you do all your stamping at first and you do your die cutting and your embossing all at the same time, and then when it comes to assembling, they go together pretty quick. Now, the other thing you can do if you want to step this up a little bit more too, if you wanted to add some Wink of Stella, to these white greenery pieces, or if you want to add some, to the blooms, you could do that. I will let you know that when you use the Wink of Stella and you are brushing it over, stamped images, you don't want to spend a lot of time with it, because because the liquid from that Wink of Stella is actually going to like pick up the ink, so it's going to fill in like those little detailed lines that are on the bloom. So but there's a couple of ways that you can like step this up a little bit more if you want. You can even add like a little ribbon bow on there if you wanted. So so there is our second card. So let me bring in the first one. So we did this one here with that traditional red, green, and got the white as well. And then we did one that was more of a pastel type theme. And what's nice about this is you can change it up. You can do it in purples, you can do it in pinks, you can do it in a bunch of different monochromatic colors. So love how this one came out as well. So there are our two projects for this month using the Merriest Moments bundle. If you have this bundle, go ahead and, give these a try. If you don't, that's inspiration. So maybe the colors inspire you, or maybe just layouts, or maybe you have something, that has like poinsettia flowers or some Christmas greenery in it. You know, work with what you with what you have. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It does help me in not only growing the channel, but it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business. So I will be back again with another Christmas card inspiration on April 1st. Don't know what I'm using quite yet, but I have a whole bunch of Christmas themed stamps that I can work with. Um, I have a pre-recorded Throwback Thursday video that I do. That's where I pull out my retired stash and I create two projects. And then I go live on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I was live last night, and I think those projects came out super cute. I used the Lily Pond Lane suite that is currently in our annual catalog. So if you missed that, go back and watch that one. I thought the projects came out really, really cute. So, another thing that I'll just make mention of, I do have a monthly newsletter. My monthly newsletters typically go out on the first Tuesday of the month. In there, I include my video schedule. So everything that I'm using for my Throwback Thursdays, my Friday night lives, I have that whole schedule in there of what I'm using. So that way, you know in advance what it is that I am using. And let's see what else. I also put in there any events or anything that I'm doing, along anything that Stampin' Up has going on as far as promotions or anything. Every month, Stampin' Up comes out with a new kit. So it's like either 2 or 3 kits that they come out with every month. So I have a picture of that. I have a description of everything that's in that kit. If you're someone who really enjoys doing the kits, because everything's already kind of pre-cut, pre-scored for you, and it's some of them you do some stamping, some of them there's no stamping at all. So I include that into my newsletter as well. So if it sounds like something that you may like to be on, there is a link for that in the description. When you click on that, it'll just ask you for your name and your email, and then it's there. And when I go to send them out, I send it out to everybody that is on my list. Also, and you don't necessarily have to be from the US if you want to subscribe to that. If you want to know what my video schedule is, then that way you can see it. So my videos are being watched from people like all over the world. Another thing that I will bring up, we still have the last chance products that are still out there. They had recently had added more items to that list. I believe it was earlier this month they did. Some things have sold out, and there are still plenty of things on there. Also, if so Celebration had ended yesterday. And so right now we just have our current annual catalog and our January to April mini catalog. So if you would like a paper copy of that, if you live in the US and you are not working with another demonstrator, my email is in the description. Just simply send me an email and provide your address and let me know which catalog or catalogs you would like, and I'll be more than happy to get them out to you. So until then, everybody, wherever you may be living, stay warm, stay cool, stay safe, and everyone have a and I will see you next month. Bye bye.